Hello and blessed AHA. Many thanks for being a part of SOUQ podcast today. This is where we talk about a variety of issues ranging from development, business, economy, anything that is worth talking about. It happens here on SOUQ podcast. Now, if you've noticed over the past few editions, it's been a series dedicated to the ongoing national workshop organized by the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation in conjunction with the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives. It is for CEOs of ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria. And the conversation has been about public sector accounting and auditing. I have joining me today a delectable woman, one that you will see and like, oh my gosh. But this is not all about beauty. She is from the Nigeria Social Insurance Fund, and we'll be talking about what this workshop would do in terms of public sector accounting and ensuring that funds committed to every MDA in Nigeria ends up delivering the dividends that Nigerians look for when we talk about dividends of democracy, talk about common good, talk about development. Nice to have you here on SOUQ Podcast, man. All right, so I'm awed by your amazing look. But another thing that also puts me in awe is when I find women who are in key positions making a difference in society, making a difference in Nigeria. So you are at this workshop and for your agency, NSITF. Let's look at development and public sector accounting, the relationship between what happens at various MDAs and what the people get to see. At this workshop where the conversation has been about public sector accounting, what's your take on it and how do you think is going to impact your agency?
Thank you very much. This workshop has been extremely informative. I don't think that anybody can be or attend this kind of workshop and leave the same person. Um, I, as you know, is the MD of NSITF, and this workshop is exposing me in particular to a lot of the current trends in accounting and auditing. And in my position, we hold this position and we're very much accountable to the public on how we spend government money, how we handle it, and how we spend it. So with this workshop, what I have learned and how I believe it will make a difference in the way we continue to run the affairs of NSITF is that we have become more informed as to the various rules, regulations, practices that should guide us in the way we carry out our affairs. We also been exposed to the various activities of the PAC, Public Accounts Committee. We've also been exposed to the auditors and what constitutes queries. And the whole idea, what we would like to achieve, is a situation whereby we're not called before the PAC, Public Accounts Committee, to account for some of our malpractices, our expenditures, and our breaches in our rules and in the rules and regulations of the land. So we have learned so much on what we're supposed to do. I've also learned that what we're doing, not all of it is correct. The ones we're doing, yes, there's some of them are correct. Some of them, there leaves rooms for improvement. And generally, it has been an experience whereby we go back to our various institutions and know how to carry out our activities in a more informed way because of this workshop. Definitely, it has impacted very positively on me as an individual, and I will go back and I will take it back to those of my staff, the directors in the institution, so that we can know how we can carry out our activities in a more transparent and be more accountable to what we do, because these are public funds and we want to make sure that we're seen to be doing the right thing. Yes.
We're going to take it from there, seem to be doing the right thing. And I too have learned from this workshop, because I've been in there with you all, that auditing has gone beyond just the books being balanced. It's now more about value. And in doing the right thing, it's about giving value to the very important things. Now, for your agency, for instance, how would this help, even in budget allocation, to the things that should be done, since it's not just about the expenditure corresponding with the fund allocated? It's not just about the books being balanced, but more now about value. And how would that translate to development for Nigeria?
Okay, yes. If I get you correctly, I think, yes, a budget is what we intend to do in a year, but we also have to prioritize um, what the activities and the projects we carry out of all those budgeted items. And of course, we have to prioritize. We have to make sure that it's based on needs and availability of funds. So we'll go back, and it's not just about, oh, this is budgeted for, so we must have to spend it. It's all about prioritizing the needs of the staff and carry out those ones that are highest on the list of priorities.
Okay. Could you just tell us a bit about NSITF? Some persons may be wondering, what
Okay.
agency is that? What do they do?
Yes, a lot of people don't know about NSITF. And with this, I'm just relatively new as an MD, but we've gone very far in creating awareness and also, creating the publicity, positive publicity, so that the public at large will know exactly what we do. Now, many people don't know. Most people just see NSITF, oh, it's one of those compliance certificates we need to be able to bid. But in actual fact, NSITF, like the name says, social insurance. We're all about social insurance protection, protecting our workers. As staff, as employees, we expect to go to work and come back in the same good condition that we left our homes with. We don't expect to die on the work or at our place of work or in the course of work. We don't expect to get injuries and disabilities. So what we do is that if there is a situation whereby an employee goes to work at the workplace or in the course of work and suffers injury, death, disability, what we do is that we are there to cushion the effects of such an occasion. We're there to cushion the effect. Like, for example, if somebody dies in the place of work and your employer has registered you or your beneficiary, it means that when that person dies, that dependent will be able to claim as much as 90% of what the spouse was earning at the time of death. So it means that the beneficiary is not left destitute. The beneficiary is not left looking for how to make ends meet. We have cases whereby in various organizations, people are still collecting about 1.5 million a month because of the fact that the employer was registered by the employer, and somewhere along the line, the employee died, and because of with various calculations that we do, the dependent was entitled to 90% of that person's salary. So that person is collecting 1.5. Some people are collecting 1.3 million. So our institution is such that we cater for, we provide social protection in cases of injury, death, disability. We make sure that we cushion the hardship that might come about such eventuality. So that's basically in a nutshell. If I sit here and tell you everything, we won't finish today. But we intend to increase our publicity, the output of our publicity, where in the next few months we're going to be putting out adverts, jingles to make people more aware of what we do. We also provide health and safety audits to make sure that the workplace is safe, to make sure that the fatalities are reduced. If we are able to educate the various employers on how to keep their workplace safe, it will also reduce the number of claims being made therefore there won't be deaths, there won't be injuries. I'm sure you understand
Yes, of
what I'm
course. You
saying.
know what they say, prevention is
It's
better than cure. Thank you
Yes.
so much. So we've been able to do two things here. Talk about the workshop and also enlighten you about different MDAs in Nigeria. I bet a lot of persons didn't know what NSITF does, but now you do know. So just in case you're an employer or you're an employee, you could ask your employer, are you registered with the NSITF? Now, these are some of the agencies that the federal government of Nigeria has created to ensure that the Nigerian worker doesn't just go to work and return earn salary at the end of the month. Other aspects of your life, eventualities are also catered for. Thank you so much for being on the show, ma'am. We've been talking with Maureen Alagwa, who is the MD of NSITF on SOUQ Podcast. I'll let you continue with your training. Concludes today.
Yes, it
Wow,
does.
it's been a wonderful ride.
It has been a wonderful experience, a very wonderful experience. And I just hope that most MDs, DGs will find the need to appear personally in such workshops and not send people to represent them, because there is a lot to learn from these few days of engagements. We've learned so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And this workshop has been coordinated by Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. We'll take a break. SOUQ Podcast continues after this time. Just stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned to SOUQ Podcast. We've been on a special series on the national workshop for MCEOs of the various ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria, and the conversation has been about public sector accounting and auditing. Yes, I have the honor of hosting on SOUQ Podcast today. Rep Bamdeli Salamu is Chairman Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps in Nigeria. Great to have you on SOUQ Podcast.
Thank you very much. My pleasure being here. Thank you.
So finally, the workshop, which began some days ago, has come to an end. Let's talk about the aim of the workshop and why the CEOs of the various MDAs was brought together to talk about public sector accounting.
Well, like I did say in the presentation I made earlier in the course of the program, for any organization, especially the leadership of the organization, there is always a need to grow with trends. Public accounting, auditing, and issues around public sector financing has gone digital, if I must say. There are quite a lot of things that have changed in the last couple of years. There are a lot of things that are still changing in the way that we do things. And if we do not create a platform where experts can come together with the leadership of organizations, especially in the public sector, we'll find a situation where there will be so much friction between those organizations and the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation, which will eventually result in not only audit queries, but citing before the Public Account Committee of the National Assembly. And we feel that if we are all working together for the same purpose, which is service delivery, we should create a platform where we can all come together and listen to ourselves so that we know those issues that are frequently in contention, and the development in the aspect of public accounting, auditing, and public finance management generally, so that all our organizations will be compliant and will have less cases of flouting of financial regulations flouting of laws, Appropriation Act, Public Procurement Act, and all other laws that govern public finances. So that is the reason why we put together this series of programs with the Auditor General for the Federation, and I'm glad with what I witnessed here and the report I got from the previous days that it's really been very impactful, it's really been very productive, and there's been a lot of engagement which has shown that there is a change in attitude, a change in understanding of what was the case before a participant came here for the training program.
Let's backtrack a little. Now, the Public Accounts Committee reviews financial statements submitted by the Accountant General for the Federation and even the Auditor General for the Federation. What's your assessment in the way that public funds have been used to bring developments to the people? And what do you think this workshop will be able to correct, if there is anything to correct so far?
All right, let me give an instance. For example, let me draw some examples from the 2020 report of the Auditor General for the Federation submitted to the National Assembly late last year. There are quite a whole lot of issues that usually bring up citing or indictment, if I may put it, on this agency. For example, issues around over budgetary expenditure. There are issues around, lack of due process in award of contract. And there are issues around unlawful environment, that is moving of monies appropriated by the National Assembly for one purpose up to another. There are also a lot of issues around lack of proper documentation. How to keep our account books, vouchers, and the procedures they have to take, how to keep a record of revenue generated by those agencies, and remittances of those agencies to appropriate account of the federal government, either that of the federal government or that of the account of the Federation, which the three tiers of government share from: federal, state, and local government. There are quite a whole, these are just examples of some of the issues that the Accountant General have identified almost year in, year out, on the account books of so many agencies. In addition, there is also a requirement of those agencies, and this has to do with documentation, to render accounts and have their audited accounts submitted to the Office of the Auditor General and Accountant General of the Federation every year. There is a timeline, March and May of every year, which many organizations, have defaulted in terms of doing. In addition to this is also the very unfortunate incidence of, extra budgetary expenditure. Now, by the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution, every money that will be spent by any ministry, department, or agency must be appropriated by the National Assembly. But you have so many organizations that either spend above what was approved by the National Assembly, or spend even money that were not appropriated at all. These are very grievous offenses, if I may use that word, which the financial regulation and the laws of the Federation do not look kindly at. But the good news is that there are things that can be avoided. And what the situations that result in this, we have listened to these agencies in a manner that can also improve the processes of appropriation in the National Assembly, and helping us to also do certain things in a faster method, taking into consideration the fact that most of the MDAs have targets to deliver. And if our own process is very slow, it affects theirs, and the public is the one that eventually bears the brunt. You remember when I was speaking, I also spoke about the digitalization of the processes, the working process of the Public Account Committee, in a manner that makes us do less paperwork, work more efficiently, work more smartly, and work more productively. So these are some of the things which this workshop has really helped us to be able to deepen our understanding on, in terms of having the three-way communication: the Auditor General, the MDAs, and then the Public Account Committee, which sits more like a jury over reports of the Auditor General for the Federation.
All right, sitting as jury, so that means you have the power to make judgments where a financial statement does not comply with what it's supposed to, the requirement, and you have the power to recommend sanctions. In doing this, how much of sanity would you say the park has been able to bring to MDAs?
Yes, I would say significantly we have been able to, because number one, nobody wants to be indicted because the consequences are very grave. The consequences can range from making a ruling that such an agency should not be funded from the federal budget. It may involve sanctions, asking that certain monies be refunded by the hearing officer of government. It may involve reporting such an individual to prosecuting agencies to take such an officer to court and prosecute. These are all, consequences. And like I said, I'm not sure anybody will just want to have any of these consequences, applied to them. But one thing that I want to emphasize is and I want our MDAs to really understand this. At least I can say this of the Public Accounts Committee of the 10th National Assembly. Yes, we have the powers. Yes, there are those consequences that are provided for by law. But we believe more in helping these agencies to avoid those mistakes, to avoid those things that might even have been done, erroneously or willingly, by letting them know that there are expectations from the public. The public expects us that when these monies are appropriated, these monies are applied to the right cause in a manner that will solve the problems. If we are able to solve the problems of the public, we're all winners. Because the chief executive of the agency, the man, the Auditor General's office, the Public Account Committee member, we all live in the same society. We want our roads to be fixed. We want hospitals to work. We want the water system to be better. We want security of life and property. Everybody wants this. So if we avoid doing those things that lead to waste, those things that lead to inefficiency, those things that lead to corruption, if we avoid them, we all win. So we emphasize more on the need for these agencies to do things rightly, to do things justly, to do things lawfully, rather than waiting until they do those things wrongly and then we come and hit the hammer. Well, you may hit the hammer, there may have been consequences, but the deed has been done. And the consequences of those deeds done may be very fatal. For example, if a money is meant to fix an oxygen plant in a hospital and the money was diverted or whatever, people die because they have no access to oxygen. You can't bring them back to life, even if you send them out to prison. Those who have died have gone. So it is better that we work with them in a manner that will let them know that the consequences of doing things wrongly are very grave, and there is a lot of benefit in doing them right and helping them to improve on those aspects of their processes that may be resulting in flouting of these financial regulations and laws of government. We believe strongly that this has more benefits than just looking at the adversarial level, the judgment level, the punishment level, even though that is still there. And we do wield the big stick when it becomes necessary. Recently, we were doing an investigation on the expenditure for COVID-19. And we discovered that a ministry got a sum of 10 billion naira to establish a vaccine production plant. And they never, established any vaccine production plant and didn't return the money to the federal government account. These are some of the things that you see and you just wonder what exactly is happening. And we had to really, come hard on them and direct that such monies should immediately be refunded back to the treasury of government, where the money was refunded. Imagine what 10 billion naira can do. Imagine how many blocks of classrooms that can construct, how many laboratories it can provide, and so on and so on. So these are just some of the examples of the things that do happen. And when such things happen, we have to come hard on such an MDA.
All right. So the Public Accounts Committee is a very key committee in the House of Reps and even in the upper chamber, the Senate chamber. In terms of public sector reform, what are you looking at to help the MDAs deliver effectively on their respective mandates? What recommendations have been made in the past and what are the new ones to be made?
Well, I mentioned a few in my earlier statement, but to be very specific now, I think one of the problems we do have with our processes and the MDAs in terms of public sector financing begins from the budget level. We are looking at a situation where we will be able to gradually transit from this envelope system of budgeting. Because, imagine a project that is going to cost 1 billion naira, and then you have an envelope in a budget of 50 million naira. So if you budget 50 million naira for a project that will cost 1 billion naira, you are very sure that that project will not be delivered. And there's no way anybody can even start anything meaningful with 50 million naira of a project of 1 billion naira. So we believe very strongly that the envelope system of budgeting, even though it has its own advantages, has a whole lot of disadvantages and is really impacting negatively on the ability of most of our MDAs to deliver on their core mandate. Another thing is that even after the approval of the budget, the executive also takes a lot of time in implementing those budgets. So if we say we have gone back to a budget cycle of January to December of every year, and by June and July of a financial cycle, we have not started implementation of a budget. We do not have any capital release as at July of a particular year. It will be very difficult, going by the provisions of the public procurement law, to expect those agencies to be able to deliver on those mandates that are included in the Appropriation Act within these few months of the year, if they will do things thoroughly and diligently. And then another area has to do with the issue of supervision, and that is where the oversight of the National Assembly comes in. The various committees of the House are taking the issue of oversight more seriously now, so that we don't wait until the deed is done. We engage with the various agencies right from the scratch to work together with them in a manner that will make us be able to supervise the implementation of the budget in a manner that will make us more efficient. Of course, there is also the issue of capacity in some of the agencies, and I must say this: we have discovered that some of the agencies lack the required capacity to deliver on some of the things that are appropriated for them in the budget. And if they don't have the technical capacity to deliver, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. A man can only give what he has. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. So these are some of the things that we have identified as problems in the various implementation of the mandates of the various MDs. And as an institution, the House of Reps is committed to helping these agencies, helping government to ensure that we reduce all these bottlenecks, we reduce all these problems in a manner that will make us, deliver better service to the public.
All right. Now let's talk about equipping those who will deliver the service. Now, this workshop has been coordinated by Africa Development Studies Center. Why did PAC choose to let them coordinate? What's your take on human capital development and the role that Africa Development Studies Center is playing, and in this one that it has collaborated with Public Accounts Committee and also Office of the Auditor General for the...
Absolutely. If you look at the 10th Assembly of the National Assembly, especially the committee I have the privilege of chairing, since the commencement of our work in the month of October of 2023, we have taken the African Development Studies Center as a major partner in human capital development. The unveiling of the committee itself came with a very robust training program for members of the committee. So as a committee, we ourselves need to be well equipped to be able to drive the capacity development of our major stakeholders. So it begins with us. And, from October till now, our committee has embarked on 4 major training programs. We have had 1 international training programs. We have had 3 local training programs in the last 7 or 8 months thereabout of our operation as a committee. And the African Study Development Center is a major partner in this regard. We look forward to deepening this engagement. And this is one of the ways we are deepening it, this collaboration with the Auditor General's office. We are also identifying some other major stakeholders that we can collaborate with to target specific cadres of officers in the public service to ensure that we do training and retraining. There's no other way, because The world is dynamic. You cannot use yesterday's strength to run today's race. You have to keep, fueling. You have to keep recharging. And it is only through these human capital development programs that you can get that done. So I assure you that this is something that will work for that one.
Very insightful and a powerful word of wisdom you just dropped there. You cannot use yesterday's strength to run today's race. All right, now let's talk now to those who you represent, Nigerians who the rep members are there for. Some of them sometimes see members at the house, talk, committees, and sometimes they're wondering, why did it take so much time in deliberating? Could you take us through what it takes to do your job?
Yeah, I just remember that, my son asked me one time, Daddy, apart from holding meetings, what other thing do you do? I said, there's no other thing we do, it's meetings that we do. Yeah, that's our job. That's the work of the parliament. The parliament is a place of discourse. The parliament is a place of debate. It's a place of conversation everywhere in the world. And it is the debate, the discussion that we have that result in the most principle of our work, which is lawmaking. We make laws for good governance, for security, for welfare of Nigeria. And you can't make laws without having discussions. If anybody brings in a bill to the House, which is the first stage of lawmaking, it has to come to the House for first reading. It goes through the second reading where you have a discussion on the major principles of the bill. And then if the bill passes through the second reading, it goes to the stage of public hearing, where you then call all persons that should ordinarily be interested in the bill, the stakeholders, to come together and discuss. It's also a discussion, it's also a meeting, to bring their input, to look at the bill and tell us the merits, and so on and so forth, before it goes back to the House for consideration of the report by the whole House, and for the third reading when it is passed, into law. So that is the principal function of the House. And like I said in answering some earlier questions, we have the responsibility of oversight. The oversight is the supervision aspect, to ensure that you don't just pass laws and go to sleep. Are the laws we passed being obeyed? Are they being implemented? Don't forget, even the Appropriation Act itself is a law. You vote so amount of money to be used for the reconstruction of social road. Is it being done? Is it being done in the manner where it should be done? The Committee on Works will look at that. You voted money for equipping of teaching hospital. The Committee on Health will come and do that. You vote money for purchase of equipment by the military, maybe some fighter jet and so on. The Committee on Defense or Army or so will come and do this. That's another thing we do. And then finally, the work of representation, bringing what has now come to be known as dividends of democracy to the people at home. Now, the federal government is a very large institution. Somebody cannot sit in Abuja, for example, and know the need of a community called Ikoton in Egbe local government of Osun State, or a place called Alajue in Ede South, or if you're in Ejigbo. They can't know. It is me, as their representative, that will go back to the federal government and say, well, you know what? In Ife-Odon federal constituency, there is no motorable road. We have a federal road that links Iwo to Ejigbo to Ife-Odon to Oyo State. It's a federal road. We need it fixed. And then we put that in the budget or in any other way through which it can be implemented. So that is the role of representation, where we act as the spokesperson of the persons who voted us into office. So basically what we do is talking. What we do is meeting. And that is the work, because that is what democracy is all about. Democracy is about discussion, it's about engagement, it's about representation.
All right, finally, after a week of training, what is your message to the participants at this national workshop? What are you expecting to see differently when your committee receives financial statements?
Yes, well, very importantly is the need for us to make use of the knowledge that we have learned here, so that we do not appear like the man that the Bible describes as the man who looks at the mirror, and by the time he leaves, he's forgotten what he looks like. We have looked at the mirror here. We have seen, we have heard, we have read things that we need to do better and differently. And it must not stop there. We have to then apply the knowledge. It is the application of knowledge that is called wisdom. The man who has knowledge and refuses to apply them is not a wise man. I expect every participant in this program to be wise, and that is to apply those things we have learned in making sure that our books are tidier, that our processes are lawful, that our execution of projects are value-driven than they had ever been. By the time all these things happen, we'll have less case for inviting agencies to come and defend this, come and explain this, come and shed more light on this. You have very less incident of such happening.
Thank you so much, Rev Bamdeli Salam, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps Nigeria, for being with us on SOUQ Podcast today. We thank you so much that your committee saw it necessary not just to sit and expect that the right thing is done, but to take the step to ensure that those who will do the work know exactly what to do. And we hope Nigeria soon will begin to reap the rewards of this workshop.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
And this is where we wrap it up on the special series of the SOUQ podcast, where we've been having interactions with the organizers and participants at the national workshop organized by Office of the Auditor General for the Federation in collaboration with Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps Nigeria to train, to equip MDAs, CEOs of ministries, departments, and agencies with current trends in public sector accounting and auditing. We do know that at the time of scarce resources, what we do with the resource that we have is very important. I'm Blessing AG. Watch out for what's next on SOUQ Podcast on the next edition.